How you make a Star Wars prequel! Welcome to Totally Naked Movie Reviews, where we review today's top movies, stripping them down to their bare essentials and exposing all faults. Today we look at Star Wars Rogue One. Needless to say, I thought this movie was awesome on so many levels, but before we get into the actual review, let's give a quick plot synopsis of the movie. It's a very basic plot. The story takes place in between Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and Star Wars, also known as Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope. So this is basically Star Wars Episode 3.5, if you will. And it's the story of how the Death Plans got to the rebellion. Basically, you have a group of rebels. They have to find this one guy on this one planet who's a defector from the Empire. And he's held by this terrorist who this one chick knows because he raised her after her father was taken by the Empire to build the Death Star. So they have to find him and the terrorist guy, and then they go to another planet. We have to find the engineer, who's the father of the one character, and then they jet set back to the base of the rebels so they can talk to people about the Death Star. But they say, hey, we need the plants, and they have to go to another planet to get those plants. Like I said, very basic story. But a plot is only as good as the characters that drive it forward. And we've got some great characters for this. For the rebels, we've got this Captain Casey Andor, and I thought they took a good take on him, and in that instead of being like a charming captain or an idealist captain who's trying to get everyone to be a part of the cause, he's kind of burned out. He's got PSD. He's been fighting in the rebellion so long that he's had to do things, and it's all haunting him. And we get this in his introduction. They're on the first planet, and he's talking to one of his sources, and the guy's telling him where this cargo pilot who defected from the Empire is hiding out. And they get accosted by some stormtroopers. He shoots those two down, and more are coming, and they're in this alleyway, and the guy's got a broken arm. He's like, I can't climb out of here, because that's how they're going to get out of it. He's going to climb up a building. And Casey's like, oh, come on now, just look over there, George, and shoots him in the back. And I was like, whoa! I guess we know when he shoots first. I mean, at least with Han, the guy he shot had a gun pointed at him. And this guy just... And like I said, that's a pretty interesting character, basically. He's burned out. He's got to do all these things for the Empire, and not all, it's a gray area. Anyway, that's one of the characters. And another character that they have, the comic relief, is a Imperial droid who's been turned over to the rebellion. They fixed his programming, called K2SO. And he was funny as hell. He's played by Alan Tudyk from Firefly and Serenity. And he also did I, Robot, where he played a robot in that as well. His character's this sarcastic robot, and I one of the best things of the film. I also, spoilers, one of the funniest gags is how the robot, who's now working for the rebellion, can't pretend worth a shit that he's with the Empire, wherever someone says, like, who are you? What are you doing with these people? They're my prisoners. I'm taking them to imprisonment in the prison. Yeah, funny character. Of course, we have Charut. He's a blind sort of Jedi. Well, not a Jedi, but a Force monk. Because one of the interesting things when we see the world, the Star Wars world out of the other movies, is that you see that the Force people treat that like a religion, and he's like a monk or something. He's blind, he's got a bow staff, and he's like, the Force is with me, I am with the Force. Interesting character, and he's got a bodyguard called Baze. They didn't do too much with him, and they didn't do too much with the Brody character, the character who's defecting from the Empire. The villain is the guy who's directing the construction of the Death Star. He makes it as the villain. You see that he's ambitious. In the beginning, he kills the one guy's wife, who's also the mother of the daughter. But not necessarily the most cool villain of all time, but good enough. And of course, Forrest Whitaker shows up as an extremist with the rebellions. Like, he broke off from them, and he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like ISIS or something. They're more violent. And he's been fighting it so long that basically his whole body is robotic. You know, he'll lose a hand, puts on a robotic part. You know, he's basically a Tin Man, but, you know, still got his own head. So that's it for new characters. There was also a lot of old characters we've already seen before who in the Star Wars universe who pop up in this. Some of them were like, and some of them were like, yeah. Grand Moff Tarkin, or Tarkin, or whatever the hell his name is, Peter Cushing's character, he's in there quite considerably. And they used computer generated imaging to put his face on a different actor's body, which was kind of creepy because Peter Cushing's been dead for like 20 years. Also, we've got Jimmy Smits playing Leia's adopted father. He makes an appearance in that. And I appreciated that because that says that, yes, the prequels happened, and they are part of the Star Wars universe. When Force Awakens came out, it really, you know, you knew that it was a sequel to Return of the Jedi, but you were wondering, kind of me, did the prequels happen? Because, you know, they didn't want to mention them at all. But with Jimmy Smits coming in this, just for really a brief role, you realize that, yes, the prequels happened, that it's all in the same universe. Also, they had the one senator, Mace Moffat, basically the only other chick in the Star Wars universe in the original trilogy. She's the big general senator type, played by an actress who was supposed to play her in the third one, but they cut out pretty much all her scenes. She appears in that. And like I said, it makes sense for these characters to be a part of that. Also, we get C-3PO and R2-D2. They pop up in that. And my kind of was like, ugh. But it makes sense that they're there because that takes place maybe like days before, you know, Star Wars, the original one, comes out. So it makes sense for them to be at the Yavin base. Also, Darth Vader, he pops up in this. He's only in 2 scenes, but they are both awesome. And we get a lot of really minor characters from the original Star Wars pop in this. The Red Leader and the Gray Leader, or is it Gold? Well, anyway, the fighter pilots, they're in there. And once again, it's computer generated stuff. The guy in the tower, he's in there. The one captain who got strangled by Darth Vader at the beginning of Star Wars, he's in there. Yeah, there were 2 cameos I really just went, when I saw them. And that was Punt Bar, you know, the Walrus Tooth guy who gave Luke Skywalker shit, and his friend with the fucked up face, Dr. Cornelius. They appear in there, and it's like, it's so forced. It's like, oh, come on. They're on this planet, but they're supposed to be, I guess, going to Tatooine at some point, but it's like, it made no sense. Like, I kind of groaned when I saw C-3PO, because, C-3PO, but still, it made sense that he would be at the Yavin base. But when those 2 popped up on the first planet that they're on, I'm like, oh, come on. That was my attitude towards it. But like I said, the cameos, they're all pretty decent except for those 2. So I kind of mentioned this character before, Jyn. She's the main character. She's played by Felicity Jones. And I had quite a few problems with her. Overall, she was just so damn boring. Just a wooden performance. I don't understand film enough to know who to blame when the character is that terrible. Is it directing, writing, or acting? But somebody fucked up. I mean, her story, I don't think it's writing, because the writing, you have a character, you see her as a child in the beginning. Her mother is killed. Her father is taken away from her. And her father is basically labeled a traitor by everyone because he's, you know, making a Death Star. So she's got to deal with that in her life. She's basically like, I don't know, like, say, like the second cousin of Hitler or some shit like that. And everyone hates her because of who she's related to, but not her. So she has to go in hiding. She goes in hiding with this one guy. And down the line, he even abandons her. So she's got 2 father figures in the movie. Both of them who, spoiler alert, she'll see die. And at the same time, she's, got this attitude. She doesn't want to be a part of the rebellion, but the rebellion is taking her in. And then later, she starts giving these speeches out of nowhere. She wasn't a character, really. She said lines, she does things, but it's like, I didn't feel for her at all. I mean, and not in any scenes. It's kind of, I thought, like, when you see the previews, you think you know what this character is going to be. She's kind of a rogue, because this is Rogue One. And she doesn't want anything to do with anyone. Kind of like Han Solo. But then you find her character, and she's got this, like I said, she's the daughter of the guys building the Death Star, so everyone's going to hate her. And then later, you think, character-wise, she comes over to the side of the rebellion, which she does, but it kind of happens really quick, and you don't feel like it was a genuine thing. She goes, oh, you know what? You're right. We've all got to fight and do these things. And it's like, this is out of nowhere. And I think that it is some acting. Felicity Jones, she's just monotonic, kind of. I didn't feel her character had any emotion. You could say that maybe that's like some kind of insecurity with her character. Like, she just projects that. But still, it's like, what is she? What is she doing here? And it kind of didn't take away from the film so much, but it stops it from being a perfect movie, because the character is just not a character. She's one of the people you would forget about, and she's one of the main characters. So, yeah. And let's get into rating. If watch this program, you know that I base my rating on how much money I spent to see this movie and how much of that I thought was worth it. And I'm going to give it a good $7 out of 8. It looked great. Whenever they went to a new planet, the planets looked different. And I thought it kind of felt like they were on a real place. The new characters, except for Jin, were pretty damn cool. Everyone did give good acting. The plot was pretty decent. Also, if you're a Star Wars nerd, and I'm not the biggest one, I was more Star Trek, but it's got plenty of Easter eggs for you. And I think one of my favorite ones was basically they explained why the Death Star had one big weak point. And spoiler, it's the architect set it up that way so it could be destroyed. And I thought that's what they should call this one. Plot hole, Star Wars episode 3.5. Plot hole explained. Also, they had a red 5 in there when they're attacking the base with all the archives. They've got the red squadron there, and they've got one guy who's red 5, and he gets shot down and killed. And that explains why Luke, when he joined them out of the blue, they were able to give him number 5 instead of going off of whatever number the last. Like in order, like they had like a red 11, he would become red 12, but they give him 5, and it's like, oh, that explains it. That guy got killed, and they said, well, you can be in the red 5 position. And I'd say like the appreciation, the detail, setting it in right before Star Wars, like when they go to the Yavin base, it looks like it did in Star Wars. That the ship that Leia's on, it makes an appearance in that. And it looks like it's the same ship. So I appreciated that. And there's just so many scenes that I'm always going to remember. I'm like the scene where the droid is getting shot at with a grenade launcher. And he just grabs the grenade in midair and it says some smart-ass remark and just throws it back at the guy. And the scene with Darth Vader when he's boarding the ship and he's just cutting through people and force choking them, force slam them all over the place. That was awesome. So yeah, generally speaking, I thought this movie was great. $7 out